Hello there. Greetings, 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 everyone. I don't know who's going to get to see this, but I felt compelled to make this little video just to calm myself down relative to what I'm seeing out there in the planets and the transits and everything. Because, I'm like you guys. I try to just mind my own business, stay in my own lane, and survive. Uh, there's whatever we have 7.5 billion people on the planet. 2 billion of them live, on $1 to $5 a day. And the other 5.5 billion are sort of in the middle. And you've got about a couple of million people up at the very top who kind of, own and control and run everything. The corporatocracy of America, the plutocracy of the world, all the plutocrats, all the oligarchs, all the despots and the tyrants, all the elected presidents, and so on and so on. And it's all just happening in a big swirl. We all know that. Hold on. So, as you know, I wrote a book about 2020 and some of the historical events that we're going to witness this year, and it is playing out pretty much exactly as you can imagine. It's, in some ways, it's diabolical. It's terrifying. It's frustrating. There's a lot of people in a lot of pain right now all across the planet. China has 50 million people displaced because of the flooding. America has 35, 40 million people displaced out of unemployment. Countries like, let's have a look. Well, a lot of sub-Saharan countries are really struggling right now. We've over here in America, we have really drastically devalued the dollar. We're just printing money like confetti, and that's affecting the whole of the rest of planet Earth. And it makes it easier and easier for us to export business and do global trade, but it makes it very much harder for other people to compete. So on and so on. Argentina is having a rough time. Brazil, much of Central America over here is having a very bumpy time. Ecuador. Over here, I don't know if you can see it. Greece, Turkey, Lebanon. Lebanon is right in here. They're having an extremely hard time crushing inflation. Same over here in parts of South Africa and Zambia and Zimbabwe. We all know this. This is just sort of stuff that you would see on the news. Just your regular old news. Over here, we've got the. We're kind of in some ways bearing the brunt of the China virus over here, the CCP virus, the COVID-19. They're dealing with it a lot over here in China. So there's a lot of really scary bad news coming out of here right now and out of here right now. So I thought I would focus on those things, these entities in terms of like a relationship. And so I made some Lumination astrodoodles. Let me see if you can figure this out. I don't know if you recognize any of this. Let me see, I'm just going to put this one up here, see if anybody recognizes that. This, I will just tell you, is a Terralumination astrodoodle of the United States. Okay, I'll explain it in a little bit. I'll explain it in little bits, okay? I'm not a master astrologer or anything. I do this as a sort of amateur hobby kind of thing, but I do it mostly so I can learn and stay appraised of things so I don't become a victim of the transits, okay? Hold on. So right now, the way I've done it is this. If you look at this as a typical Terralumination astrodoodle, okay, I better put the hallmark over here. TL astrodoodle. You heard it here first, people. Okay, so guess what? I'll just tell you, this is a chart of the United States. If you think of this as a birth chart of the United States, it looks sort of like this. We have a lot of energy over here in the 8th house in Cancer. Okay, see, Sun in Cancer, Mercury in Cancer, Jupiter in Cancer, and Venus in Cancer, all over here in the house of other people's money. You know, America is very involved with, like, you know, that expression, no taxation without representation. This is the house of taxation over here. This is the house of other people's money. America is pretty much obsessed with money. You might have noticed that. These are the money houses over here, the 8th house and the 2nd house. And look what we have here in the birth of the United States, 4th of July, 1776. Actually, let me just mark that. USA, 4th of July, 1776. And as you know, if you've watched some of my videos earlier, we have just lived through a 250-year Pluto return. So we're now here again, kind of reliving the birth of America. But instead of the original problem with the birth of the United States basically was birthed out of Western Europeans more or less invading this open territory here, which was full of about 10 million Native American Indians. We went in there, pretty much slaughtered and destroyed their ways of life and everything, and we took over and claimed this as our new land. And I'm one of those people, and I'm, you know, I don't know how to make amends with all the people who suffered because of this new thing called America that was created here. But the American people here around, by the time they reached 1776, they decided, you know, enough is enough is enough. We are sick of these people over here telling us what to do, trying to take all our money so that we become slaves to the monarchy of British, okay? And so they said, enough is enough. And they fought very bloody wars to make their point, okay? America is a country that's riddled with war and violence. A lot of countries are. It's pretty much part of human behavior, sadly. And so we are here again. 2020. Now, if you look at these little purple things on the outside here, those represent the planets that are in transit right now at this day, this time of this video, okay? So I'm gonna mark this as 31st of July, 2020. Okay, so let's just say all of this stuff here is a fixed entity. Think of it as a person, like pretend this is your personal astrology chart or something. This is kind of a fixed thing. It's like your DNA. It's like a rubber stamp. It's like it's like being branded. It's your genetic code or a spiritual, psychological, astrological code, however you want to think of it. I haven't really filled in all the details. I just put in some key markers that really stand out to me. All the huge cluster of energy up in here at Cancer. American is very much a Cancerian country. It's very much about home and family, protect and defend the home and family, commerce, okay? Jupiter, expansion of the home and the family, and the love of home and family, okay? And all of that is opposed by Pluto in Capricorn. This is the energy. This, when you have a configuration like this is the energy of Pluto opposite Sun. This is the energy of creative destruction or destructive creativity. America is well known for going through these convulsive evolutionary leaps as one aspect of its nature dissolves and is crushed and pulverized as a new version of itself emerges. And it's a constant ongoing thing. It's been going for 250 years, but we're coming to the end of a rinse and repeat cycle. We're going to start all over again. And it's a very different situation. My personal view, as you know, I've shared it a number of times, is that we're back here at 1776 revisited. I'm calling it 2020. And instead of we the people versus the tyranny and the monarchy of Great Britain, it is now we the people versus the tyranny and the monarchy of the self-appointed leaders over here. Today we have over here in America, okay, that's where all the power is, all the money and stuff over here. A lot of the brain power is here, 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 and here. And there's everything else in between. They call it flyover country for all the jet setters. So anyway, over here, excuse me, I got to move this white arrow. It's kind of blocking my screen a bit. Give me a second. All right, so over here, we have what we believe are our elected leaders, you know, Washington basically, and we have self-appointed leaders, owners called the Federal Reserve. Their main office is here, that's the Federal Reserve, and the operating system, the federal government, is in the same place, okay? They basically run a debt farm. As you know, I consider the United States as being more or less operated as a debt farm today, as it is right now under the oppression of what, like this amazing illusion that's been created out of thin air. It's called the Federal Reserve Bank, okay, System of America, our central banking system. And they basically own the country. And they have operators, which is called the federal government, and they operate the country. So it's a collusion between the Federal Reserve and the federal government. They run a massive debt farm. America is built on debt. You know, credit cards, car payments, mortgages, college loans, business loans, corporate debt. And we have whatever it is, like a $29 trillion budget deficit in this country now, right now. So it's kind of, to me, it's very tragic. You can study all this stuff, like the history of money, the history of the United States and things like that. There's tons of material out there. I'm just giving you my sort of scan at the moment. So what's the point of this? Here we go. Here we are today, at this moment in time. This is what is jumping out at me. Today, right now, we have the moon in Capricorn, Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn in Capricorn, basically all bearing down on this incredibly hidden but profound aspect of the American identity. Pluto in Capricorn. That's the energy of the desire for complete control and ownership and dominance and power, okay? Especially when it comes to business and money and corporations and structure. So this is built into our DNA in America. And opposed to this is Mercury in Cancer. Now, Mercury represents the energy of commerce, business, day-to-day transactions, moving money back and forth. And it's up here in the 8th house. So, you know, you could say that, you know, the axis of money is profoundly important to America, our national wealth and the wealth of the individuals, we the people up here. Now also, we have a very fortunate moon. We are very blessed with a very highly, let's say, favored moon. It's an Aquarius moon. And it gives us this aura of America as being very much an egalitarian nation, a nation that's built around we the people. If you think of the moon as representing the people, and it's in the sign of Aquarius, it's very much a humanitarian, leaderless type of situation where we the people elect our leaders to work for us. Americans are not slaves. We don't like to be slaves to our leaders. So we have what we believe is a system of freedom of choice. For example, Democrats and Republicans. My perspective today is that we don't really actually have a choice. It's an illusion of choice, which has been constructed over 250 years by the, basically, we have become the enemy of ourselves now. So we the people, in other words, the cows on the debt farm, are slowly starting to wake up and realize that, my God, we are cows on a debt farm, and we are now owned and operated by a tyrannical leadership over here called the Federal Reserve and the federal government. The Federal Reserve is not an elected body. They are self-appointed. And a lot of people in Washington are not elected. They are appointed. We elect our presidents, we elect our senators and Congress people and governors and things like that. But pretty much everything else runs as a sort of a plutocracy. It's a self-serving system, and it works for them, okay? And all of this, it works in collusion with the American corporatocracy. In other words, the big six, like Google, Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Facebook, and Netflix, okay? Huge, huge entities in the American economy. Then you could also add Visa and MasterCard and all the major retail banks like Wells Fargo, Chase, Bank of America, and all the others, okay? And they are very interested, all those things that I just mentioned, they are very interested. Their prime concern is to maintain complete, utter power, control, and domination, okay, of the wealth, of the money. But that goes directly in contrast, in conflict with we the people, because all of their wealth and money and power comes from we the people, okay? Over here, we're born to be this way. America is well known for constantly challenging its authorities and leadership. And that's what's happening today on a massive scale. And why is that so? Well, it doesn't surprise me at all. Look at this. We have Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter, and the moon all pounding on here on our Pluto at the very foundation of our soul here. And wherever I look at Pluto, I see that as the least evolved part of an entity, of a being. So America is learning through very, very painful processes that it has allowed itself to become its own worst enemy. And the only way we can undo that is to hold our leaders accountable. How do we do that? It's very, very, very difficult because America has been conditioned into a stupor of complacency and pleasure and distraction while they get on and do it whatever they do, however they do it for their personal benefit. You are basically being milked like a debt cow unless you are part of the operating system itself. Anyway, I just want to show you something. Here are the transits that are happening right now. This one, okay, heavy, heavy pressure about reality check police acting directly on America, okay? Mercury's in Cancer right now, accenting our things like the stock market, our financial system, okay? Radical upheavals happening, radical creative destruction happening in our financial world in America. It's not going to stop. It's not going to go away. We've already talked about this. We're living through it right now. Digital currencies are going to come into being. And there's a big, big problem because the people who own the fake currencies at the moment, basically the Federal Reserve with, confetti money and all of that, digital money, especially pure digital money, which is decentralized, they call it DeFi, decentralized finance. That is a real problem for the supremacy of the dollar, because if you have, it's like you have a problem between honest money and fake money. Right now, the whole of the United States runs on fake money. It's all a massive, beautiful optical illusion. We've done an incredible job to creating this facade of wealth, and it works really well. As long as you believe you have everything. We've got running water in America, most people, televisions, electricity, smartphones, indoor plumbing, internet, all of that stuff. It's luxurious. 2 billion people on planet Earth do not have any of that stuff. They're swimming in their own poop. So we're very, very lucky. But on the other hand, a lot of Americans are starting to wake up that we're getting fleeced. We're getting screwed over. So here's my feeling. Right now, here's the other transits. Okay, Neptune is in Pisces, Mars in Aries. That's very challenging for all this Cancerian stuff. It's very violent, very volatile. Okay, Uranus in Taurus over here, Venus in Gemini. Okay, so in some ways, it's sweetening up our relationship with other people. Other people around the world are starting to see that America isn't all bad. You can't blame all your problems on America. Okay. Also, Mercury is over here in Cancer, so America is being very actively vocal in the media about what's going on, for better or worse, depending on which media sources you watch. There's a lot of exposure of, reality checks about how corrupt some of our media have become. Anyway, let's move on over here to the Sun. The Sun is in Leo right now. It just started. And we're going to be going up until towards the end of August. Now, when I look at the charts for Leo season, they're very challenging, okay? Very, very challenging charts. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of volatility going on. I wonder if I can actually bring up an old chart. Hold on, give me a second. Stay right there, don't go away. Leo season, I've got a doodle here that I made on another video. Yeah, let's just do this, okay? Well, I could do two charts really. But anyway, here's the thing. This is kind of like Leo season as I see it. There's a lot of, with the transits right now, there's a lot of volatility. Where over here Mars is in Aries, very hard square to all the Capricorn energy that's flying around right now, also in very hard square to the Cancerian energy. And is it a coincidence that the Cancer Capricorn axis is very powerful on the United States? So America is under a lot of violent, I see this as violent self-expression coming out, open violence, and it's happening all over America. I think only a very small amount of it is actually being broadcast on the mass media because it's very, let's say, awkward for the mass media because they don't like to admit these kind of things that are happening that are bad. The next thing I wanted to focus on here is this other big red triangle. I'm just focusing on the scary stuff because it's a weather report. I want to know the bad things so I can navigate through to get to the good stuff. The good stuff's lying there, but you have to get to it. So right now, Leo season, it's all lighting up over here. We have the full moon, okay, in a few days, okay? And what I think is going to happen, it's going to light up America in terms of where it's coming from and then where it's going. Uranus is in Taurus up here, really radically shaking things up, like for basically the whole world, okay? There's a lot of disruption happening on planet Earth right now. Volcanoes, fires, earthquakes. It's mind-boggling what's happening in China. So this is extremely unsettling, very volatile energy for the whole of the Leo season. So if you wanted to, if I had all the technology, I would place all this on top of this, and it would look sort of like, if I could do it, that would be sitting on top of there, okay? Can you see what I'm doing here? I'm putting the Leo energy on top of the Leo part of America. So what happens is you get the Capricorn Cancer axis under tremendous pressure from the Mars transit over here, okay? So this is a big problem. Got it? See that? That's what's happening for America, okay? And the other one that is an ongoing issue, of course, is the, it's sort of on and off. Well, I'm just focusing specifically on the full moon and the new moon, okay? The full moon here, August 3rd, the new moon on August 18th. Both of those moons are heavily conflicted, okay? So let's find the Taurus energy over here. Okay, you will see that it's over here. So early on in the month, and then later on in the month, we're going to have a highly conflicted thing, basically here to here. I'm going to add, I know this is getting kind of messy, but please bear with me. So this is being identified right now. So for America in general, what I see through the Leo season is some very serious challenges, a lot of volatility, more violence, violent self-expression, and it's only going to increase. I see that the Uranus and Taurus energy is very disruptive for the Aquarius-Leo axis. Now, it just so also happens that the Aquarius-Leo axis runs parallel to the American North Node, which is over here. So basically, this is what's happening in Leo season is that America, just like everywhere else in the world, America especially is under tremendous pressure to rise up to be its most amazing Leo aspect of itself. Yes, it is a Cancerian sun sign country. It's identified by the Cancerian sun here. But with these transits, remember, these are the transits. These purple things here, these represent the planets that are whizzing around the solar system right now. But this thing here, the chart itself, is a fixed thing. So in Western astrology, especially Terra Lumination astrology, as represented by an astrodoodle, I'm just sharing with you what I observe. What I'm observing is that the Leo season, pretty much the whole Leo season, is really, really volatile and very disruptive. Along the money axis, along the axis of we the people, okay? We the people, and just lots of volatility, lots of volatility. Uranus and Taurus is really shaking things up at the foundations. Mars and Aries is really shaking things up in our creativity. How are we going to solve our problems? A lot of it is happening through violence. A lot of people are choosing violence to solve their problems, okay? And the more and more that the public become violent, the more and more the leadership has to show, you know, honest, responsible, magnanimous leadership. It's very, very hard to do. How would you like to be president of the United States right now? Or how would you like to run for president right now when you know you have to deal with this? It's freaking mind-boggling. It's scary. Now I'm going to do another thing over here. Watch this. Now, if I can find it. Give me a second. Sorry, I got to do this thing. I should have prepared all this better. Oh yeah, here we go. This is what I wanted to show you. Now have a look at this one. Okay, I didn't put any information in there to tell you what it is, but let me just make sure I've got everything here. Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. So I got the main celestial bodies that people talk about in common Western astrology. So these are the transits, okay? And this is a single entity. Can anybody figure out what that is? Well, I'm going to tell you in a few seconds, but you'll probably know this. What I'm showing here, these are hotspots, okay? Give me a second. I want to go back to the USA chart here. So these are the hotspots right now for the United States. Here, 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 and here, okay? If anybody wants to chat about this in person, you can book a reading or something, but I'm just identifying hotspots, and there's a lot of hotspots indicating to me personally a lot of turbulence, volatility, violence, disruption, chaos. Now, imagine this. Think of this as an entity, like a person or a country. Who do you think that might be? And why am I doing it? Well, it's because I've been gibbering about this for quite a long time now, but think of this, okay? Here are the transits, and it's affecting an entity, a body. So I will just tell you, this is China. This is the best chart that I could find about China. And it's all about the CCP, the China Communist Party, because before the China Communist Party, China was in basically a state of chaos, absolute chaos, and they were ruled by, you know, centuries of despots and tyrants and everything. And eventually Mao Zedong came in and created communism based on the Marxist Lenin model, Stalin stuff, basically a complete totalitarian command and control economy designed and operated by people who've made the decision that we know what is right for you, and we're going to tell you what to do, how to do, when to do it, where to do it, with whom to do it. And if you do not obey, you disappear or you will be punished, okay? So basically the whole of the Chinese population of about 1.4 billion live under this brand, okay? And so, I wish I hadn't said China already. I wish I had treated this as a person. Okay, let's just pretend this is a person. And I was looking at this chart. The things that jump out to me is this massive Pluto-Mars conjunction over here in the 7th house in Leo. And as soon as I saw that, forget the rest of it. As soon as I just saw this little section of the pie itself, I kept thinking, uh-oh, we have a major problem here. And it's heavily conflicted over here with Venus, the planet of love and harmony, beauty and relationships, up in the 10th house, okay, in Scorpio. The next thing we have that stands out to me is that we have a Sun in Libra, Mercury and Neptune in Libra over here in the 10th house, where I believe there's a lot of energy of desired, dominance, like vast overreach, vast overconfidence in their abilities and their rights. And when I add it all together and I look at this, their sun, the sun here is heavily conflicted with Uranus, heavily conflicted with Jupiter. This entity was born with Jupiter in Capricorn at 22 degrees, which is almost identical to the American birth of Pluto in Capricorn at 27 degrees. So the United States and this entity are very, very closely entwined astrologically. I'm going to have to make a whole other video about that, but for right now, I just wanted to share some observations with you. When I pulled up and started studying this, again, remember, I'm not an expert. I'm just giving you my opinions. What I saw here is if someone came to me and said, hey, Tarot Illumination, I need a personal reading. I'm dealing with this person right now in my life, and this is their astrology chart. Can you help me? What do I need to know here? And I would say, well, I see someone here who is highly abusive, highly self-serving, extremely proud, narcissistic, very much having the hallmarks of an emperor, a completely dominating, controlling emperor, like having a very abusive husband or partner or something. What I see here is a heavily conflicted sun, okay, which is really, from my perspective, is not healthy in a relationship to have a relationship with someone who has this type of configuration. What I see here also is that this is an entity that uses absolute power, including violence, to get exactly what it wants done in the way it wants done it, the way it wants done. With Pluto and Leo, they feel they have God-given right to express themselves, creative self-expression, however they want to do it. But when you combine Pluto and Mars like this is an extremely hostile angle. This is like an aspect of war, of extreme violence, self-justified, ruthless, unapologetic violence. So when I see Pluto and Mars conjoined in Leo in the 7th house, opposing a natural born, sweet, innocent moon in Aquarius, what I see is a highly abusive relationship, okay? An abuser. I see a narcissistic, violent, maniacally power-obsessed abuser. That's what I see here. If you hadn't told me that this was a chart of China, that's what I would have seen. I'm sorry, China, I don't mean to insult you. This is not you, the people. This is the China that exists today under the oppressive control of the CCP, the China Communist Party. So I'm just going to mark it in here because it's almost impossible to separate China and the CCP, okay? All right, so it goes like this. This is China and the CCP. So this chart is based on the birth of the CCP around 1949, just after World War II, when they had these violent uprisings and Mao Zedong came in and there was just chaos, and you decided, I'm going to take complete command and control. I'm going to tell everybody what to do and how to do it. And if you disagree, you get shot, okay? Because I feel like it and because I can. And so they just do it. So what happens is you basically have the energy here, what I see as an extremely proud, very courageously and almost like outrageously self-important, self-justifying kind of energy over here with the Libra thing in terms of relationships. But it's heavily conflicted And at the backup, it's like, basically I see this is a thug. This is the energy of a thug, and doing whatever they have to do to get done whatever they want done. And that's their self-undoing. Okay, this is the 12th house over here. So what I'm sensing right now is that we have a real problem for China. China has risen in power very, very rapidly, very, very quickly since the 1970s, largely because of its very sick marriage between itself and the United States. I see this as a very sick marriage between a highly abusive debt farm owned and operated by the Federal Reserve and the federal government and the corporatocracy, in a deeply uh, deeply uh, deeply bound marriage with a slave camp owned and operated by a bunch of thugs. And the people on the slave camp have very little choice except to operate as if they are all part of the Chinese Communist Party, CCP. And so I look at it as this. You've got a debt farm married to a slave camp. That's the shadow side of these countries, okay? The beauty is that we have such amazing things going on in America. We have amazing things going on in China. But what is being exposed is the reality check. Okay, the reality check police is here, okay, on America. It's over here on China, and it's hitting a very, very hard nerve right now in China. So what's happening right now, I don't know if anybody's noticed, but China is being exposed on a global scale for the true nature that it really is. Everybody on earth now is starting to realize that this is the true identity of China Communist Party. And the Chinese people are starting to revolt. They're starting to have a violent revolt. They are starting to respond to the violence. There's so much violence here from the CCP towards the people. The people are innocent. The people just want to be people. But how do you deal with that when you're dealing with a nation ruled by thugs? It's very, very hard to do. There are 360 million people in China right now. That's the population of the United States who have already signed a petition to quit the CCP. The CCP is not ready to go to war with its own people. The CCP has millions and millions of followers and nationalist believers who are hyper pro-China. They are extremely willing to go along with the CCP, and they love the idea of being in partnership with an extremely violent, abusive, narcissistic, violent thug leadership. They love it. It makes you feel powerful. It's like an orgy of power. People get off on power. That's why abusers do what they do. It's like a massive adrenaline orgiastic rush of power when you completely, utterly pulverize and crush other people. It becomes addictive like a drug. So that's what's happening in China right now, but it's being exposed as a problem. The Chinese people themselves, okay, the Chinese themselves, actually let me mark that. China, as in the Chinese, are starting to realize that we're sick of this shit, okay? We don't want to be slaves on a slave camp that's owned and operated by a bunch of maniacal, narcissistic, violent thugs for their own personal benefit. We want freedom just as America wants freedom. So I think what's happening right now is the global reality check police. These are the transits, okay? There's a lot of pressure here. It's happening right now. I think, especially in the next few days, the news will show a lot of things outside of China about how ugly it really is in China. It's happening all over the news. I don't want to tell you the stories. You can watch news channels like whatever it is, Epoch Times or NTD News or something like that, which tells you a lot about China and things. So China is being exposed. In other words, the thuggery of China CCP is being exposed to the rest of the world. And the rest of the world is starting to separate itself from China because it's realizing it's so ugly. We can't live in such tight binding agreements and relationships with such a thug, violent, abusive entity. Next thing that's happening, okay, So basically, what I'm trying to say here is, okay, let me do it like this. That's the America chart over here. That's the China chart over here. There's this profound marriage between the United States and China. And over the last 50 years, from 1970 to 2020, this marriage has become very deeply entwined. America's economy is deeply in bed with China's economy. The Chinese economy is deeply in bed with America, including all the violence and the corruption and the theft. This is a nation built on theft, okay? Intellectual theft, intellectual property theft, mostly stolen from here and here. They use it to their advantage and they weaponize it against us, okay? So it's a very ugly marriage. It looks beautiful on the outside. We have this massive growth in globalization and commerce that has exploded all over the world because of this marriage. Every country in the world now is, I would say, aligned with China, connected to China in one way, shape, or another, whether you're buying cheap toothpaste, pills, gadgets, toys, computers, whatever it is, jewelry, phones. A lot of it's being manufactured here and sold at very favorable prices, thanks to the slave camp here, because the CCP and the owners of the state companies don't really have to pay fair market wages. This is a massive slave camp. This is a massive debt farm, and they're both married to each other. And the thing is, all the wonders of globalization and expansion are being enjoyed by everyone else on Earth now, but people are starting to realize all the advantages that they enjoy from the slave camp here are coming out of a very, very ugly situation. So there is a containment that is now going on across the world. If you start to observe things, basically things are going to start polarizing more and more and more into these two simple, like a bilateral equation, okay? Where it's friends of America or friends of China. And that's what's happening right now. These two economies dominate the world in a huge way, and then everyone else has to accommodate. So all the people who benefit, like these folks here, 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 all the people who benefit from the sick marriage between the debt farm and the slave camp are now starting to question that marriage. And so what's happening is the beautiful illusion, okay, let me show you, the beautiful, where is my little shiny drum? The beautiful illusion of having beautiful relationships is starting to crumble. What's actually happening is this mind-boggling thing called China, where the leaders declare that we are amazing all the time, and anything that you see that's wrong or ugly or bad about us, it's just fake news. It's not anymore. The truth is being exposed by the reality check police. And the world is starting to realize that the Chinese people, China is owned and operated by a bunch of thugs in suits, okay? A totalitarian, dictatorial, communist China party, the CCP. And they use extreme violence to enact their will. Okay, so let's keep going. All of this is coming to the surface now. You can watch the news channels and all that kind of stuff if you're interested. But basically, a lot of people are starting to be disgusted around the world by what they see going on here. The only people who are really enjoying this are people who are already run and operated by totalitarian states like the Middle East and Russia and parts of Africa, okay? And other certain corrupt countries who like to operate that way. Those countries, I believe, will coalesce and form alignments with China as one side of the equation, and everyone else inevitably will have to pick sides and choose like friends of America. It happens deep in the finance world. They call them whatever it is, swaps. You know, in terms of the global financial banking system. And so there's this polarization again, and none of it surprises me with this massive, okay, let me go back to here. this massive thing going on here, which is historical in terms of the astrology. Anything like this hasn't happened in probably thousands and thousands of years. It's happening right now. We're living through this in real time. So we're seeing the whole thing of globalization being exposed for some of the ugliness that it is. And if this thing falls apart, what happens is the true cost of the luxuries in life that we've enjoyed for the last 70 years are exposed. Because if China says enough is enough, we don't want to live on a slave camp anymore. And if the United States says enough is enough, we don't want to live in a debt farm anymore. We want to hold our leaders accountable. We want to hold our leaders accountable. That creates a lot of problems for the global economy. Okay? So everyone's already starting to feel it. Now, here's the thing. Leo season. I guess this is the final point of the video I'm trying to make. The Leo sun is here right now. Okay, let's put the date on this one too, so I have it. Okay, this is 2020, and it is the 31st of July. Okay, so over here, that's the date of this chart right now. This is China. Okay, I've just said it, and these are the transits right now. Look at this. The Leo sun is transiting China's natal 7th house. So what does that mean? It's shining a huge bright light on the Mars-Pluto conjunction. What does that say? It's just shining a spotlight on the reality that this entity here, we're calling it China for the sake of convenience. I don't know what else to call it. It's really the CCP. But the Chinese people sadly have to live under the CCP. Basically, the CCP is being exposed for what it is. It's like a massive spotlight coming from the reality check police is exposing to the whole world that China is basically a super hyper violent thug criminal entity. They use extreme violence. They don't ask for permission. They do it because they can. And that's one of the hallmarks and characteristics of an abuser, especially a sexual abuser, is that they do what they want because they can. One of the characteristics inside an abusive relationship is that the abuser will seduce, let's say, a victim into what appears to be a, let's say, desirable agreement or relationship dynamic. And then once the abusee, once the person is under the umbrella, under the illusion, like everything's beautiful, everything's going to be wonderful because they told me so. The CCP told me that everything's going to be great. We, the people, are going to have an amazing unified life, and we're going to be told what to do and how to do it. Wow, I don't have to think anymore. I just have to go along with the CCP. And then the CCP says, we've got them now. So all we have to do is enact a couple of gestures of extreme violence, and then everyone here will understand that by the way, anybody who disagrees with the CCP will suffer extreme violence, okay? And that's what's happening in China. That's what's been going on for basically since 1949, and it's going to get worse, okay? They got 1.4 billion people there. 360 million people don't like this. They don't want to live like this anymore. They're sick of it. So just like what's happening in the United States, okay? There are a lot of people inside the United States who are saying, we are sick of the way things are here. And it's happening over here in China too. And the sun is lighting it up. So please don't be surprised when we come into the Leo full moon, okay, on August 3rd, when the moon is over here. Okay, the moon's here right now, but soon it's going to be here. And then on August the 18th, roughly, where the sun's going to be over, the moon's going to be over here in Leo, please be aware, if you check on these things, if you're interested at all, of extreme violence or volatility or expressions of violence or hostility coming out of China as China tries to explain to the world that we are amazing and everything's amazing all the time, even though China is in fact having tremendous internal problems right now. And they're having greater and greater difficulties dealing with it. So the thing is, the more and more difficult things become inside of China, the more and more violent and more aggressive will the leaders become, okay? And that's just how it's gonna, that's basically how it's gonna go. So it's very sad for the Chinese people. So they're going to have to be living through a lot of, I would say, violence and volatility. For example, there's 55 million people in China right now who are suffering because of the impositions of the CCP regarding water flows in central and southern China. 55 million people. We complain in America when there's a couple of hundred people or a couple of thousand people displaced by floods, okay? Talk about 55 million, okay? So China has a lot of internal problems right now. So here are some little takeaways, and then I'm going to wrap it up. Remember earlier how I was talking about this? Eventually, it's like this extreme, slow pressure for everybody on Earth to take sides. Basically, every country over here and here and here is going to be slowly squeezed into taking sides. Whose side do you want to be on? You want to be with America? You want to be with China? If you want to hook up and stay aligned with China, sure, go for it. But you will meet resistance, because what's happening is a lot of people are saying enough is enough. We cannot allow our shopping, our brands, our Nikes, our Sonys, or whatever, to be associated, our Apple computers, for example, to be associated with the China slave camp. So we might have to find ways to dissociate. How do you dissociate from 70 years of deep association? It's going to be very, very tough. So I see a long, slow, painful process, especially dragging into the next 20 years or so as Pluto goes through Aquarius and then eventually into Pisces, okay? So for the time being, what I see is global restructuring, okay, stay there. This is my chance to show off. Wealth, Money, Finance by Tarot Illumination, Global Restructuring 2020. It started this year. You heard it here first. Thank you very much. You can see that in the links below. But what's happening is a lot of people don't like nuclear war anymore. Like in World War I and World War II, you know, tens of millions of people were killed, okay, in territorial warfare. These days, people are not so keen, because in 1945 or so, the atomic bomb was invented, and people started to realize that, wow, you drop an atomic bomb, it's not going to just kill, you know, and let's say America drops a bomb on China. It's not just going to kill China, it's going to kill all of this around here. So what's happening right now is that we've kind of built a bomb for ourselves, and we know the bomb is so dangerous that we can't really use it. So people are fighting through the financial markets, the corporatocracies, governments, diplomacies, and so on. And so my feeling is that what's eventually going to happen is that there's going to be like a division. Things are going to stretch out and open, okay, along the Capricorn axis. It's just going to force a deep, profound polarization, especially for America, Capricorn, Cancer. America is going to polarize, okay? And what will my belief that what will happen is that we will not have to actually go to direct war. We're probably going to have outbreaks of hot war, actual weapons and killing, okay? Because it's almost inevitable. There's too much pent-up violence and energy here. These thugs are just itching for a fight. And just like what happened at Pearl Harbor, we cannot instigate the fight. In America, we're very Cancerian. We're all about protect and defend. We don't typically go out overtly attacking and destroying just because we feel like it, okay? So my feeling was what happens is China, out of desperation for food and basically to feed its people and to continue its global expansion in order to satisfy the lust of the CCP, China is becoming more and more aggressive around the world in these areas here, especially, okay, all throughout here and here. And it's also becoming very aggressive out into the Pacific Ocean over here, all the way up to here. They have found hundreds of Chinese fishing ships all the way out here towards the Galapagos Islands, and all the way down here, okay? And it's all, a lot of it is illegal fishing, but China's very, very hungry. Okay, so I think what's going to happen is, by, you could call it economic isolationism or economic nationalism, as Americans become more fiercely self-contained, China becomes more self-contained, the levels of desperation increase. And what happens is, this is a very tragic thing that I'm going to say, but I think what's going to happen is the Chinese people are going to turn against the CCP, perhaps in a similar way that we, the people in America, are going to turn against the federal government. So there's a lot of aspects of war here, okay? When I look at Mars and Aries, okay, it's going to be with us for the rest of this year, and it's going to be triggering a lot of very difficult aspects in the charts of America and the charts of China, okay? So I think what's going to happen is we're going to see more and more violent uprisings over here, and the more the uprisings occur, the more violent the CCP will become, the more dominant. In other words, if you try to confront a bully and a thug, guess what happens? They become more and more of a bully and a thug. So we're doing it politically, diplomatically, economically, and financially through the currency markets. We are already standing up to China. We have to. America has to stand up for China, and accept and understand the shadow side of the sick marriage that exists between America and China. And in so doing, America will also expose itself to itself. And I believe the American people are going to call their leaders out. So I think around November time, if you look at the astrology, it's very, very volatile, okay? So basically for the rest of this year, 2020, August, September, October, November, December, we're going to see a lot of upheaval, volatility, even violence, probably here and here already, like in the big cities, and inside China, as each of these entities lives through its own internal convulsions. And I think what will happen is that effectively the United States will isolate China. China will become isolated as so-called friends of America choose to align with America, because we are the cleanest dirty shirt in the laundry basket. And the other thug nations will choose to align with China, and so be it. So you'll have like basically the world split up into two entities, friends of China, friends of America. And they're going to do whatever they can to reconfigure themselves towards dominance. China is determined to dominate planet Earth right now. It's got its own Belt and Road Initiative. It uses debt trap diplomacy all over here, all over here, all over here. And hopefully enough people are going to figure out that this is sick. This is really, really sick. So like if I ruled the world, if I was the president, I would basically say, just keep doing what we're doing, isolate, do tariffs, whatever it is, and let China, it'll be so immersed in its own internal problems, it won't be able to expend all the energy that it wants to for global domination, global expansion. Instead, it's going to reluctantly have to deal with its own internal problems. And that's very shameful and very, very embarrassing for the CCP, because they don't want to be seen as anything but glorious, beautiful, wonderful, magnificent social experiment that they are. They don't want the ugly side of the CCP to be exposed, but it is inevitable. It will be exposed. I guarantee the reality check police will assure of that. And that makes it a big problem. So basically, allow for China to be contained, keep containing China, and let China go through its own evolutionary convulsions, just like we go through ours, without having to have tens of millions or hundreds of millions of people slaughtered all over the world with guns and bullets. I don't know if I'm going to do anything more. I think I said what I wanted to say. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this. I'll see you again soon. This will just go into the history books, no doubt, but I'm trying to tell with this story here the bigger picture of what I'm seeing in the astrology right now today in the Leo season of 2020. Okay, so thank you very much, everybody. I think I'm going to see if I can, how do I switch this off? I have to do the switch thing off. Okay, take care, everybody. Hope to see you all again soon. Remember, join us on Sunday Night Live. You can get miniature live tarot readings put $10 in the super chat, for example. Or you can hang out with us sometimes on Wednesdays. We do a kind of a group social chat, sort of like this, okay? All right, take care, everyone. Bye-bye. See you soon.